Here we are. Finally. Finally. All right. Yeah, I can see myself on Twitch now. Oh my. Okay, I restarted the computer and yeah, it's working now. It wouldn't allow me to stream. Actually said that the channels were not available. Like I had to set the keys again or something. Yeah, I guess the things I heard um about OBS being absolutely bad on a Mac was not too misguided. Apparently, it is quite bad on a Mac. I don't know. Yeah, YouTube's telling me that I'm live, and that's great. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, this is great. Fantastic. Yeah, so very, very late already, right? So I don't know. I don't know how far you were able to see before it all went down and started working horribly. I'm really, really sorry about this. I really thought it was gonna go so much better, but obviously it wasn't going well. So yeah, I hope people can come back. I see there's 2 people here on Twitch. It doesn't show me anything for YouTube. Like actually, YouTube doesn't show anything here. I have to go look at the monitor there to see something on YouTube. But yeah, let's hope people come back. A mess. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the mess. I did try I did a test yesterday to make sure everything was working. It wasn't. I fixed it, and it was working great. And then it stopped working. And yeah, these things happen. These things happen. All right, but we're here. We're back here, and I'm gonna try to make this short because I guess we don't want it to break again. I really don't know what broke it. I really would like to know what happened because that way I can think of a solution. I'm gonna have to do some research about that. But okay, for now it's working, and we should be happy about that at least. Yeah, really very, very concerned about whatever happened here with the stream, why it stopped working, and it suddenly looked like I was very, very, very laggy. But I'm back here. All right, let's try this again. Let's see if we can at least leave something recorded with the whole thing, because I guess we're gonna have to wait for people to show up here on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, people will come when they come. I messed up, I guess. Yeah, there's just me watching here, so it's not gonna be probably a great thing. But yeah, this is it. This is what we have now. This is what we have here, and we're gonna have to do with it. We're gonna have to make do with it. So yeah, it shows that I'm okay. It says that I'm streaming. Gives me because sometimes it says offline, and I'm like, oh, what? I don't know why, but yeah. So yeah, if I come out of here and I come back, sometimes it says it's offline. What? So yeah, let's get back to where we were. I'm just gonna leave the recording, at least the bits and pieces that are there. Such a mess, because I also don't really know where I left, which part really started getting choppy, and I couldn't really show them well. But yeah, I was showing basically the controller. I restarted the computer, so but I managed to show the to save the scene so that we could have something there, that at least the stuff we were looking at. But yeah, we basically have the we were talking about, I don't know if how much you were able to see of this without it being choppy. I know the audio is coming out well, so at least that's something you can listen at. Um, but yeah, let's look at the code. Let's just go straight to the code. So what we have here is the wheel info. Basically only gathers the information for the wheel, right? It has the different settings that pertain to the wheel itself. This is the actual wheel info of the Rapier vehicle controller, right? The Rapier vehicle controller has these settings, so I'm simply just translating them into a component, right? Something we can use in Rogue Engine. It should be fairly easy, fairly simple. Then we have the Rapier Vegas vehicle controller. After getting all the different properties that we need, here we are simply in the awake. We are getting, first of all, I'm setting up the bindings of the buttons, the different buttons. Here we're telling the input controller. For those who want to know how to set up these sort of inputs, you can look at this in the docs. We have a whole documentation on how to use the input system. You can set up really very customized controllers. So yeah, but this thing, I mean, I think is the simplest thing, right? I just added an accelerate, a steer, a reverse, and handbrake. The reverse is the actual brakes, right? You press S and it will brake if you're moving forward, right? And it will reverse if you are standing still, right? If the car is still, it will brake. Sorry, it will reverse. Well, so, and that's what it's here, right? So we have the gear ratios. The first one is the reverse, right? The second one, and from the second one, right, from index 1 and onwards, is the first, second, third, however many you had. So yeah, you can just, with that in mind, you can add whatever ratios you want. Here I just wanted a very fast reverse, so you can like drift going back, something like that. But I don't know, just for fun. Usually you would want something, I guess, just a bit faster, a bit stronger than the first, I guess. So here I would have something like, I don't know, maybe like 5 or something like that, I guess. But yeah, probably this is a bit much, maybe. But yeah, let's go to the init here. Let's just look at the important parts. Well, let's get back to the awake here. It's just the important parts, right? WASD to move the car, right? All that. The gamepad, you just move with the analog. Then what I did was here, as you can see with the steer, you're actually just going to use the A and the D. The W and the S are going to be overwritten here, right? So it's going to be accelerate and reverse. So this will be overwritten basically. And we have the button 7 of the gamepad, the button 6 of the gamepad. So here, you write the first one. If you have like a keyboard setup here, you just have to write the other ones down there to be overwritten. This is something that was unintended. And if you don't do it this way, it kind of breaks. So I fixed that in the next version of Rogue Engine. But yeah, in the current version, this is the way you have to set it up. Yeah, you hit space or button 1 of the gamepad to brake, right? So brake and to handbrake, right? You can do all the drifts you want and all that. You can just drift around. So then we have the init, where we create a vehicle controller, right? And then we start doing everything, setting up all the properties for the vehicle controller for every wheel, right? Because as you can see, it's only setting up the stuff for the controller for the actual Rapier vehicle controller, right? It's not doing more than that. It's just taking the body that we have here. As you can see, these properties are an actual Rapier body. So we have this body in this component available. If you've been using Rogue Rapier for a while, you know very well what I'm talking about here. By the way, if you're there, oh, I see you. Thank you, thank you, Simon. Thank you, Charlie, for the chats there. I'm glad it's working, and you're here again. Yeah, I don't know how many people are on YouTube now. We have you two, the two of you. Yeah, let's keep looking at this. Basically, yeah, that's what it does, right? It will, in the update, it's simply going to be handling the input. It's going to be taking the steer, the accelerate, reverse, all that, and it's going to do the speed calculations, the gear management, right? And it's going to do it in a realistical way, right? It's going to go through each wheel and decide what to do for each wheel, right here, right? And like to how much steering to apply, how much torque to apply, and it will do it depending on what you set up the wheel to be, right? So say, for instance, here we have these wheels here. Let's see if it's not choppy. Oh, great. So these wheels, for instance, these front wheels, I set to steer, right? Steer true. And they're not set to traction, right? And the back wheels are set to traction. So these two are going to take the torque, and these two are not going to take the torque, right? And then you have the balancing of the brakes. How much braking do you want on the front wheels? How much handbrake do you want on each one of them? So it doesn't really assume that you have a front wheel or a back wheel or something like that. You decide what kind of wheel you want, and that's all it's going to do. You can set the friction slip, and the actual friction slip is going to be for mostly front slip, but it's also going to do side slip a bit for what I could test. It's more of a general kind of slip, but the side friction stiffness, this is the actual sorry, this is the actual side friction, right? So if you want to drift, this is one you want to bring down a bit, and it's actually gonna slide. For instance, in the case of this car, something I tried to do was, it's probably gonna do a bit of a mess here because we have some buffering issues. So it's probably gonna be it's gonna bounce, but we have. I hope this is not breaking everything, right? My stream, but yeah. Basically when you drift, let's try and get fast enough. Oh, there, right? So when you drift like that, it slides because you have this value. But if you put something like, if you like a 1 or 2, something like that, it's gonna take a bit more to drift. So you keep that in mind. Everything else here is basically just the orientation. So if you this is how the actual axle, how where is the car actually, in which axis the car is actually taking the friction, the traction. Where is it attached to the car, right? The axle of the wheel. This everything else here, the suspension, where is it coming from? Obviously from y minus y. So I think this is more or less kind of intuitive, I guess. The radius of a wheel, all of these things, right? So very, very intuitive. The one thing that is a bit tricky is some of the calculations in the code are based on the wheel, like on the wheel radius that is actually taken from the first wheel it finds. So that's the tricky part, right? As you can see, any calculation with a wheel radius that is kind of a general sort of calculation for the engine force and all that, to calculate speeds and all these things, like the RPM and all that, it's going to be based on one of the wheels and nothing else, right? So So might differ if you have like different wheel sizes, right? You may find different kinds of um, behaviors there. But unless the wheels are massively different, you shouldn't have much of a problem there. So that's the only assumption we're doing here. I'll look for a solution for that later on, like trying to, make something more customizable. But I guess that was a compromise enough to do it. It's just get it done and launch it and have something nice that people can use straight away. At least, if you want something more custom, like it's, more customized than this, you can just, try and find a way to handle that with another wheel perhaps, or have some kind of constant where you modify this some multiplier that you use. You can try that. It might also just work and work well, work fine. So I don't know. It's up to you to figure that out, really. This is, I think, very customizable, and you can go from very, very realistic to something that is absolutely arcade, I guess. Depending on how much bounce you give to the to the suspension and all that, and you can set everything for each wheel, so you can play around and do some crazy stuff if you want. So that's it for the vehicle, I guess. There's not much to show you really other than that. Just as you saw from the beginning, I think you were able to see everything I've set up. But yeah, it's just simply set up an environment like this, right? A group. I put a cube on. I've added to the cube itself. I've simply given it. But let's see if someone there. It's a very big amount of. This is actual. Simon says it's a very big amount of work you're pulling out there. Keeping in mind that this is actual code. It's not even nodes in Unreal or Unity. Great work, man. Really, thank you, mate. Thank you, Simon. It's a bit of work, but someone has to do it. So I do it. But yeah, this is something you can use. You can just drag and drop in your scene and start using it. So yeah, what's next for this? The next thing I want to do for this, of course, as always, I want to treat the paid users. Really, my deepest thanks to everyone who's buying a license and trying this out and trusting Rogue Engine for their projects. Thank you so much. I'm really honored. Every time someone buys a license, it's more of the the joy I get is mostly of how thankful I feel that someone sees these as something useful for them and wants to actually support the project because they feel that this is something that is helping them that much. So really, thank you so much. And as always, I'm trying to find ways to keep improving the packages that I bring, the premium packages. So I'm probably going to make something like a customized thing, a more a specific thing. I want to add like little visuals, like a little example of a velocimeter, things like that. Having something like the drifting, integrating the particle system, the quarks, to have like drifting, to have smoke on the wheels, leaving skid marks, for instance, things like that. I'm probably going to add some of these things, put them together, and set up a proper vehicle project that premium users can have, as a treat, as a thank you. So, as always, I'm trying to, all the details, all the things are absolutely necessary, and the things that everyone needs, I'm always going to be bringing to everyone. That's my commitment. That's always been my commitment, and obviously, putting it forward for putting these things forward for everyone. But obviously, the more the things that everyone can figure out for themselves, those things, those details, always I'm gonna try to bring them in and try to help you make more of your projects. So thank you so much. And yeah, that's coming. That's next for the cars, for the vehicle controller. So it's Simon saying, here we have, a chat from Simon says, just a question, the track and terrain. Which kind of algorithm will use in order to detect collisions? Let's say you have not a plane but SHLB model of a truck. If you will make shaders with terrain detection, SHLB model of environment. By using we cannot use only substance painters for small assets. Same way as for the terrain environment. It's crazy. Why I think interesting in your engine. I didn't understand much of that last one, but what you're asking for is just the what you need is the mesh collider. So you just, instead of having a rapier cuboid here, you would have something like a so if I remove this from this, right, I just added a trimish collider here, rapier trimish, right? And well, this is the box. So it's gonna be a box. But if you were the car, right, if you were this car here, like if I add a trimish collider, rapier trimish, right, it's simply going to add a trimish to the car. You have to be very careful about. In this case, the trimish is not working because of the type of model. So I think there's a trick there. Certain FBX models will not work with the trimish, but I think you said GLB, so you should be fine with that. I said GLTF, I'd go and say, in fact. But yeah, you can basically do that with the trimish. What I would recommend though is that you subdivide your terrain as much as you can. Like, just have without abusing too much, having too many objects, of course. But I would say if you can have like modules and things that you can reuse, even that's even better, right? Or even stuff that you can just procedurally add to your game. So what I would have is different trimishes, right? You can different parts of the terrain that you bring in, and you add a trimish to them. And that's all. That's it. You have all the colliders for them, so you can, your car will run through them all fine. I think that's it for the car. If anyone has any other questions, of course, I'll keep working on. I'll keep looking into that. But yeah, let's talk about the other thing that I had for this live stream, which is let's take the intellectual look out. Oh, yeah, those things get me tired. My nose gets all red. It's really annoying. But yeah, those glasses are annoying. But yeah, so what I wanted to talk about as well was some of the features that I'm working on for the next version of Rogue Engine. So as I said, like in the last update, there's a mess of stuff, like a lot of stuff that I want to bring in. I thought I could just start kind of procedurally bringing some of these in, but that's not going to be very possible because some of these things are intertwined. Sometimes I need something in order to use something to add something, and some things only make sense on the 1.0. Some things make sense maybe for a last beta, maybe. We're in the latest beta. I think I thought we were in the very latest beta, and I could just drop the 1.0 after maybe a couple of patches, but it's not going to be possible, I think. So at the very least, we're going to have like a very last beta with a bunch of things that I want to test in order to launch a beta like 1.0 very, very soon. Like maybe it might be missing like a couple of the features. That's as much as I'm willing to go beta wise. It's probably going to be a 1.0 straight in, because as always, I always try to make these things so that you don't have to rewrite everything every time I make an update. I want the updates always to be something that add up to your experience. Um, I don't want to bring something in that that forces you to reinvent everything every single time. I hate it when frameworks just go ahead and and rewrite everything and go, yeah, it's all these things that you did, it's just not worth it anymore. So I think I like more everlasting, more lasting systems, right? More systems that you can actually trust, that are stable enough. I think that's the way for everything, right? You want to build things that, you know, I don't think everything's set in stone, but if something needs to be changed, it needs to be changed. But when you're building something, I'd rather be slower and careful and making sure that whatever I'm adding is actually adding and not stepping on everything else I did. So sometimes that's necessary. But my test for the 1.0, the test what I put myself forward for the 1.0 was, I wanted to make sure that everything I did, every single time I did it, was every single update I added meant something and didn't step on everything else. If I could make it so for a few updates, then I knew I was getting ready for a 1.0. And that's always been what I've tried to do. And I think I've accomplished that for the most part. Of course, I've broken things, but one thing is to have a bug, and another thing is to make an addition that breaks everything else. As in, you know, all of these things that that I've did before. No, just stop doing everything. And well, Simon says. Simon says, yeah. Because I want to see how is possible and what is the engine will be more compatible. My really person like you gives motivation to people to look forward working on TypeScript, JavaScript. We will support it. Thank you, mate. Yeah. Thanks for the support. And I says live 3D experience of a single GLB viewer all the way up to whole building is getting very popular, and basically the real-time 3D presentation of single part car table architecture type of presentation is getting popular day by day. We'll support you. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate that. Yeah, that's where we're going, right? But so what I'm working on now, there are a few features that I want to talk about. So one of them is something that someone asked me a while back. Do you have kind of scriptable objects? Because they want to translate the experience of scriptable objects from Unity to Rogue Engine, right? And well, in Rogue Engine you can have like a JSON file, and you can load that easily into your component, right? So you don't really need that kind of scriptable object in that sense. But you know, it's always bugged me that the only way to compose in a scene that we have is with components. And the philosophy behind that was that I'm always want to favor composition, and in the great scheme of things, composition over inheritance, in the sense that not building everything with inheritance, but the inheritance wherever it's needed, right? Say you have a component and you inherit from a certain component, right? But you don't inherit game from my game, and then my game from this thing, and then you have all this inheritance nightmare. So the thing I always try to do is have kind of a balance, right? Because I think that's the way to achieve it, right? Some things are functions, some things are classes that you can extend, and some things are components that you use in your classes. And I think that's the proper way to handle this, right? The proper way to handle this is to have a balance, and not to just be dogmatic about using classes or using inheritance or using composition. or being functional instead of instead of object oriented. I think that's ridiculous. Just going dogmatic about stuff, about tools that are there for a reason, right? We just use them and their own in their own balance. I think that's part of the job of a tool creator, right? To bring in a certain pattern of use of these things. So that's what I try to do. That's what I'm trying to build. Also with Rogue Engine, right? Part of building Rogue Engine is creating a sort of pattern of building games, building applications with Three.js. Exactly, Simon says, exactly. It depends on what kind of results you're trying to show. But well, there's the but there. So yeah, what I one of the feature that I'm talking about here is letting you create actual objects, actual Three.js objects, right? Object 3Ds. So the reason behind this is that right now you can create that. Of course, you're free to do whatever you want with the Three.js objects. You can have your classes and all that, but you don't have a way to sort of create them and have them as a primitive, right? You can't, like if I show you here, you can't just come here and say, oh, hey, let's add, my object here, right? My custom object. No, you can't do that now. And also, if I let you do that, like if you had a way to sort of just add it to the list, say you create it here in a class, and then I give you a way to add it to the list, then you wouldn't really be able to do much with it, right? I mean, it's just an object. You just create a bunch of things, but then if you don't have a proper way to create the options here, to have a way to set up an interface for the object, then it makes no sense to have like a custom object other than in your code. So why would you even have it here and all that? So really, that really got me thinking. I've actually been thinking about this for a while. I've been thinking about how to improve that workflow and create a pattern that is not that integrates well with the component side, because I don't think creating objects is the way to go for everything. I think the way to go to have something like a sort of a unit thing that you can use in many of the things. So that's why I think I'm going to bring the components. Well, what I'm kind of finishing up doing is bringing in the components into the objects, right? So what I'm trying to do with this pattern, right, this new pattern that I'm bringing into Rogue Engine, where we're going to have classes, right, that are simply going to extend from a special Rogue Engine class that extends from Object 3D, basically. And we can have with these all the different update patterns and all these things, and also an interface, a way to set up an interface the same way we have with the components. That's the part that I'm mostly figuring out now, because everything else, I think it works really well already, right? It's having your object and being able to say just drag and drop, create a class, and you can drag and drop it within the scene, right? And that's fairly simple. But being able to compose an object that perhaps uses certain components and all that, and you have it as a sort of a scriptable object, right? Some sort of object that you say, okay, this object has these components in it, right? And this object has this these properties, and it has this behavior. So an object with a certain behavior as well, right? And you can use it sort of as a scriptable object itself, right? You can have different instances of it, and also you can have the object being how can I say this? You can have your object be a unit. That's the thing, right? I'm trying to extrapolate the ideas that I have in my head. I'm sorry. but I think it boils down to that, to having like a unit that is whenever you don't need composition, right? Let's say you have I don't think, maybe a car is, I don't know, you could have your own sort of car that behaves like a car and has all the car properties, and you don't need a component for a car, right? Some cases that may be the thing you want. I guess in some situations you may want to have certain objects that are very specific, right, and that require a certain behavior. Like for instance, the lights, right? The lights right now, they have a problem. The lights don't follow you, don't follow the camera, don't follow you, don't follow an object or anything. You have to add that behavior to them. So having a light that is actually able to do these things requires to either add a component to the light or make the component have a behavior, right? So creating behaviors that are just natural to that object, I think, is the way to go, because you don't want to have something that is meant for a light to be able to be added to something else, right? So just having a simple light that has these behaviors added to them, I think, is the proper way. So this is more or less what I'm working on. Simon says here, the thing that the the buds, because he's saying exactly depends on what kind of result you're trying to look to show, but sometimes to make even simple thing, but when there is a lot of them, also can get scary difficult. I've been working on something. Do you have a page where we can upload screenshots so you can see what the audience more or less is interested in, and if they have a proper approach? Because you have already seen the two sides of the coin. But me, I'm kind of lost. I understand that what you say, but I'm not a full stack developer, barely starting to code. Point lights are dropping FPS like, yeah, point lights are expensive. Yeah, you have to be careful how you use the point lights. But go on the Discord. Just go rogueengine.io, look at the Discord page, and that's where we have everything. Everything's everything's going on Discord. So if you're watching this, and let's see how many people are here. I really don't know how many people are here. We have I think like 5 people. It says, I don't know, 3 people. I don't know. Can't see, but yeah, it's very far monitor. But the Discord has everything. You can ask questions there. I'm always there available, so you just tag me there on Discord and I can help you out with something. He says it's okay to bake, but there is an ocean, the sun, shadows. Yeah, the best way always with lights. The more you can bake with anything, with any engine, really, with anything. 3JS, it's very powerful, but lights and all these things are the most costly. Yeah, the shadows mostly are very costly. So I will always try to bake these things if you can. Like if you have something that's very very dynamic, of course, keeping the shadows very very small, sufficient at least, and something. No worries, mate. I will not make it. Says I will not make you tired with this. No, mate. Just go in the Discord and send your screenshots and everything there. And there's a place where you can showcase your work there and share with everyone. So that's where you should go and do that. And I'll help you out. And maybe there's something like I said the first part of this live stream. Like if someone has any kind of doubts or something that I could bring into these live streams, I'll obviously be able to bring all these things here, and help you out live. That's one thing that I'm looking to do, of course, right? So let's I think we could wrap this up. I think what else did I have for this? Let's see my notes. What else did I have for this live stream? So I'll talk about the features, and now we have did some live help here. Someone wanted to ask a question, obviously. always you can always ask questions, and try to if you're trying to build something, if you don't know how to do something, you can always ask. And I hope these live streams can be a platform where we can do that much easier. Also, yeah, I was gonna do some plan some game development. I was thinking of making a game live. It's not gonna be today. It's not gonna be today, definitely. This has been, wow. I mean, with all the problems we had with the live stream, it's been a mess. So it's not gonna be today. We're gonna have we're gonna have another live stream sometime this week. I think probably tomorrow or Thursday. So it's gonna be tomorrow or Thursday, and probably gonna try to do a long run on Thursday. I will see. Probably get something ready on Thursday, and then do a long run do a long run on Friday. That's what I meant. Sorry. Just go a few hours on Friday, just building a game or doing something like that. Some Friday game development Friday, and then we have the screenshot Saturday or something like that, so we can join it there. What we're doing, what we did on Friday, just send a screenshot for screenshot Saturday. We may finish it at 12, so we can publish whatever we do on Saturday. Very early on Saturday, just as it turns into Saturday, we have a little video there we can share of whatever we've been building. I was thinking about doing a like a tower defense kind of thing, very simple thing, like just to kind of have a little game that we can play. That is generally a kind of single player games you usually play. I was thinking also, like, all the ideas I had were kind of an idle game, like like sort of like a farming thing, or games to collect something, some very simple game, like something we can use to have our very first live stream made game. All right, and then we can see from there on where we get. But at least having one scene, like the gameplay more or less figured out, and the different elements of the game, talk about them. Have different things. I think a tower defense has all these a bunch of elements, right? Because it has the shooting of the towers, right? Well, different behaviors of the towers. We can figure out how to have different sorts of towers. So we can have towers that shoot things. What kind of projectiles do they shoot? Some of them may be shooting, I don't know, arrows, or some kind of, I don't know, maybe it's guns. I don't know. We can figure out what we want the towers to do. I think a more traditional kind of one would be interesting, right? Having arrows and magic towers. And things like that, right? One that throws rocks, and one that, the positioning of the towers as well, right? The positioning on the map, figuring that out. I think that's even, I would say that's even one of the most interesting parts, like figuring out then when we finally have all the elements and everything, figuring out how the gameplay actually makes sense, right? Where do you put your towers, and adjusting the radius of the towers, adjusting the speed of the shooting speed, all of these things that we need to figure out with the game, like a tower defense. So I'm gonna bring in the materials. Probably gonna use either some of the Kenny stuff or some of the Quaternion stuff, like the models. As always, if you can support them, the people building all these models, free Creative Commons models, right? Think about that. You can use them in your game, right? Kenny.nl and Quaternions.com. I think it's .com. Let me confirm, but I think it's Quaternions.com. Yeah, Quaternions.com. So if you can afford it, go and support them. These people are really saviors for some of us who are terrible at making models and all these things. And these things are great to help us create little projects, prototypes, and even full games. I mean, these models are great. I mean, you can build full games with this. So yeah, always go there, support them. If you can donate, if you can become a Patreon, help them out, so that we can keep having these things. These things are important for the community, very, very important. And the more we can add, the more